All right, on envy. You know that feeling you get in gym class as a grade school student when you notice someone is faster than you? Or when you notice the amount of direct attention someone gets although you are in the same room as them? The envy impulse is a strong elementary level impulse that is within us all. What is apparent to us, though, is that clearly not everyone manages this impulse in the same way. But what I aim to highlight in this article is that it is a management. That is to say, that it is a direct decision that people make with their bodies to entertain the envy impulse. Some people like to act like it's too hard to utilize self-control. Do away with them, I say. They should be slaves or done away with, since clearly they do not appreciate life, neither theirs nor anyone else's. We know injustice when we see it. So I don't understand why we have fallen so lackadaisically as if the realm of justice is exclusive to those who formally study it. But enough on my philosophy about justice. We'll certainly get to that. I am still showing you that which there is for us to be aware of and prepared to defend our reality for. In the idolatry conversation, I introduced us to the definition of envy, which again is about a desire for something someone else has. But I also want us to highlight the final definition given at the bottom, which is the desire for oneself. We are all aspirational. We may not know how to articulate something that we want or like that we have witnessed in spirit or in object, but certainly the things that we want or like resonate within us in some way to make us attracted to them. Why don't we have those things? Is this a question that ever rises in the mind of the envier? It's only half rhetorical, because some people do seriously behave as if they cannot obtain certain things and act out in accordance to the sentiment, including trying to bring down or destroy the thing that fills them with joy or intrigue. And some people do genuinely need help, because apparently, whatever it means to be a neglectful parent or caregiver is not exclusive to what is not given to the dependent, but also what is given in excess. I didn't think it would be so necessary to establish these certain fundamental understandings of what it means to be human, because you would think that because they are fundamental, people will recognize the truth anyway. But it is more apparent now than ever that people's truths are engineered by others to begin with, and thus waiting on them to understand what reality really is like waiting on a sign that Jesus has returned. The point I am making is that the truth is here, and we would be foolish to behave as if all people have been able to operate under a truth just because it was spoken that it is so. It is far more complex than that. There are too many factors at play here, including our individual truths. It is a universal truth that envy is understood by all of us. It is also a truth that each of us handle the envy impulse differently depending on what it is that is causing the feeling of envy among other factors. Thus, it can be easily grasped that the envy impulse is one of many prompts to make a decision. There are a range of decisions that can be made to deal with the prompt, and surely sometimes it can feel conformist or predictable to choose from an option that seems typical. Therefore, it is understandable how some people would feel compelled to attack others in order to deal with their envy impulses, or to even stagnate and become numb, as if overwhelmed with options and feeling that none of them will suffice. Certainly, I cannot control nor mitigate all of the impulses that strike us, and I think it is rather inappropriate to do so. But I do have a pertinent question. If this is the United States, and it is supposed to be a land of opportunity, then why aren't there more opportunities? It is no mystery that people are struggling, and have been struggling for a very long time. And this isn't like the feudal or monarchical days of antiquity. Surely, people have the ability to accept that there is a sort of hierarchy somewhere in society, but considering how far we have come, to say that we are enlightened, to say that we have created a nation such as the United States which embodies democracy and acknowledges inalienable human rights, then how come there are not substantial opportunities to realize our potential? It's quite a fair question, because we can see within ourselves and observing others that when you feel you have nothing better to do, well, you're still going to end up doing something. Whether it's daydreaming, talking to yourself, masturbating, making random noises, cleaning, disrupting others, doom scrolling, etc., it is always apparent that regardless of all the advertising and the marketing and the books and the memes, there are other things for people to be occupied with. There is nothing but time on this earth, and anyone can see that time can be used for a plethora of things and have values extracted. These values are not only material, but they are also very much intangible. We are constantly extracting values from the things that we interpret, even if it's to notice that we were spaced out and that we can space out. Now, I want to direct our attention to this concept of standing by, because certainly we are constantly affected by our own imaginations, mostly based off of things that we have been exposed to. I think of you. I think of us. I think of what we did. I think of what I saw, heard, felt, tasted, smelled earlier, etc. The concepts of mindfulness and meditation are sustained by the idea that we are perpetually plagued by thoughts and that we have control over the values attributed to those thoughts. So sure, one may feel the impulse of envy or greed or lust or pride or slothfulness or wrath, but does that mean that they have to entertain it? We must be asking ourselves what we are being exposed to and creating an understanding surrounding how these exposures contribute to our environment. So when you have these marketers and advertisers who think they're so genius by shoving smiles and action in our faces all the time, of course it is understandable that some people would generate a perspective that is to say that they too wish they could be in a perpetual state of excitement and action. The same goes for the exorbitant amounts of money and the flaunting and projections of luxury and material comfort. Of course people would come to believe that such things are the object of life and look forward to or try to orchestrate their lives around material things and things that bring it. The same goes for all the sexuality talk. People are developing these perspectives of the world based off of what they are being exposed to. And let's just say that any of these people go ahead and acquire any of these things at any given moment for any given amount of time. Well, now you have it. But as you consume and use your time, you come to realize that through all these things which have had the chance to demonstrate the residual effects which make them seem desirable, you realize that all these things are actually worthless. Are you satisfied? Were you satisfied when you finally manifested your idea into some sort of reality? Of course, although it may not be exactly how you envisioned it and everything you wanted it to be, but it's enough to say that it is there and that someone can see it with you. Were you satisfied with the sex and the attention and validation? Well, men do have a refractory period, and also, generally, people can be pretty annoying, you know? I mean, it can be embarrassing enough to admit that you have to take a shit, let alone to create alone time for yourself. How is it that regardless of everyone's perspective on the money issue, they all know that money is insignificant? You can't spend enough of it, and some things are priceless. Don't we all just fuck off and die someday? Well, at least at the end of that, we don't have to hear any of your complaints anymore. Brother, what do you really want? Well, this we can really only figure out if we purpose ourselves to the plow, if he will even make it there. Pitifully, until we get this sorted out, we will have a significant number of people who behave in this way, as if they want for nothing and opt for a life of wandering and slothfulness. And yet, what is an example but something that you have seen? What is empathy but a measure of how much of yourself you see in something else? It is all inevitable. What is the reason for your envy? That you haven't seen anything else. We can't do anything about our constant state of comparison, but we can be more intentional about what we reveal to each other. And certainly, if anyone has the power to reveal, it is those who have something to reveal. I know that people watch me, study me, try to learn me and figure me out. And what is most ironic is that they don't even realize that it is they who have been figured out. What they have been wanting for and waiting for is for someone to articulate it. Hence, we have all of this trivialization where people create more words when it is quite easy to express what they are doing, and how they are failing at what they are doing. I know that they recognize their own wickedness, but let us not be too harsh, as throughout the course of history, the most obvious route has not always been the one taken, if for no other reason than that people have entrapped themselves in their so-called processes and don't know how to articulate themselves. Don't forget that there absolutely still lies those who engage in wickedness and difficulty for the sake of it. But I just spoke about the overwhelming lack of an example of clear articulation, which certainly supplies confidence for the speaker. Which came first, the chicken or the egg? This is easily one of the dumbest questions that I have ever encountered, especially because if there is really any etiology to discover, it is the one that propels us to be so morally conscientious that we constantly create more and more barriers to making effective decisions. At some point, the point becomes so clear that it is time to shut up and get down to making the decision. I mean, clearly, right? Considering how irresponsible we have been anyway with allowing ourselves to succumb to other people's ability to ask questions without much trivialization or pushback, while we allow them to stifle our own progress. It is actually not difficult to increase one's vocabulary. We must keep reading, and we must especially read the works of those who came before us. The fact that we could have a book such as the Bible, which is a testimony to events that occurred thousands of years before our own generation, is such a privilege and a blessing that we could even have created language, and that such language can be transposed into other forms to articulate elements of this reality that we share. All the truth there is to have is right in front of us, and if we make the choice to neglect our potential, then we understand that it is a destructive choice. And if we are also engineering such an environment that encourages us to neglect this potential, such as theological dogmas that place themselves in positions to discourage people from reading their texts, or elevate themselves as ultimate authorities on interpretations of their texts, or otherwise neglect exposing people to their capacity to think for themselves and make their own decisions, then we can also understand that we are destroying our own society. How much can I blame the envious for being ignorant and neglectful, if that is the example being set by those who have placed themselves into the position to be such an example, to be so? I encourage everyone to realize their potential, to follow what is in their hearts, that is not excessive wickedness or chaos, to acquire the knowledge of the beauty of that which surrounds them, to minimize hesitation in the realm of getting to make decisions that enrich them with knowledge, and to do away with that which very clearly does not serve them, which they know does not serve them. The history is laid, the level of intentionality that has been behind making meaningless things relevant and representing meaningful things as dangerous or undesirable. Though everyone, even those deceivers, still manage to come back to recognizing a sense of accountability for the spirit and their lack of control over that which cannot be explained, that they did not control or create. Envy is a bitch, but you don't have to be. Those with ears, let them hear. Now again, if you enjoyed what you heard, please do not be afraid to like, comment, subscribe, and pick up a copy of my book, Judgment Day, on Amazon Kindle. I'll see you guys in the next one.